Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
And a good morning to you. I again apologize for my voice, but I'm now heavily medicated, so I think things will be getting better, if not weird, next week. What do you think?
It's going to get weird.
It's going to get weird because now I'm on prednisone, right? Well, you can react, and I could get vicious, or I could get hyper. I mean, I don't know. Prednisone is a wonder drug, but it makes you nuts a little bit. It makes some people really nuts.
Like me.
Yeah. So, at any rate, I feel better, but it's a false feeling. I have a feeling. Guys, I don't know how we're going to do it. I woke up. Against my better judgment, I immediately went to my Twitter feed and was accosted by in real time. I mean, it was just like a flurry of Trump tweets. He's up. He's tweeting. It's before 7 a.m. This guy is tweeting. And have you heard the tweets from today? Because they suggest he's in a little bit of a meltdown. And that's, well, you can, okay. Here's one. Hopefully all supporters and those who want to make America great again, I'll do that when it's caps, will go to D.C. on January 20. It will be a great show. Let me tell you what that's about. He's already worried about the ratings for his inauguration. Here's the other thing I thought. It will be a great show. Donald, you tangerine Lilliputian monstrosity. Donald, guy, the inauguration is about as serious and solemn an affair. Maybe only a state funeral would be a more solemn affair. It is that's all I want to say. It is not a great show. Okay? It's not a show. You little twisted man. Then, I guess Celebrity Apprentice, the new version, premiered this week with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Donald Trump is executive producer. I think he owns 50%, 51%, 49%. I don't know if he's got controlling interest, probably 49%. And he says this. What time is this? I don't even have the time on here. This is this morning. Wow! The ratings are in, and Arnold Schwarzenegger got swamped, destroyed, by comparison to the ratings machine for Donald J. Trump. He just has DJT. So much for, and then he had to put another tweet because there was too much time. So much for, where'd you finish it, Donald? Being a movie star, and that was season 1 compared to season 14. Now compare him to my season 1, but who cares? He supported Kasich and Hillary. This is your president in 2 weeks. He's reveling in the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger got lousier ratings than he did, even though he's an executive producer of the show. And he's trying to buck up the ratings for the great show that will be his inauguration. He also said, this is one of the earliest ones, the dishonest media doesn't report that any money spent on building the Great Wall. First of all, now it's known as the Great Wall. I thought the globe already had a Great Wall. And I think it was built a long time ago and is a much more impressive structure than anything that this puny little pipsqueak is going to get built. The Great Wall. Any money spent on building the Great Wall will be paid back by Mexico later. So, hey, all you yahoos who thought this was the man who was going to make America great again, what was his number one turn on to you other than, this is about the immigrants, throwing all the immigrants out? We're going to build the wall. That's what it is. Build the wall. Build the wall. And how many times did Donald stand in front of those mobs and say, and who's going to pay for that wall? And they all, Mexico. Yeah. And there's video upon video upon video of him saying, and they will pay immediately. Are the people who fell for all his crap going to acknowledge, even before he's sworn in, that they were part of the most humiliating, embarrassing, and shameful electoral happening in the country's history? I mean, without a doubt. Without a doubt. There is your president to be. A small little man. And let's remember what's on his agenda today. He gets up in the morning and starts tweeting about beating Arnold Schwarzenegger in the ratings and about building the Great Wall. And he has to meet today with Clapper and all the other intelligence agency heads who he has been denigrating and ridiculing for months. And this after yesterday's hearings before the Senate Armed Services Committee. And I did watch some of that. And I have to tell you, I was, for the first moment since this debacle of an election, I felt a little bit of hope. Because there was the Senate and the senators, Republican and Democrat, and there were these serious, very serious men taking their questions and responding. And they were unequivocal. They were unequivocal. Russia hacked it. Russia did more than hack it. This was, according to Clapper, let me get the exact words. This was not espionage, which he said we all, he was saying you don't want to retaliate against a country for digging around in espionage for espionage purposes, because he said people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. In other words, we do it all the time. So, let's be honest. But he said this is different, markedly different, although in the past the United States has also mucked in other people's elections. Let's be honest about that, too. For some reason, I'll find it, of course, when I'm done talking about it and don't need it anymore. But he called it an activist attempt to subvert American democracy. He was later asked, would that be considered an act of war? And here's what he said. Whether or not that constitutes an act of war, I think is a very heavy policy question that I don't believe the intelligence community should make. And he went on to say, again, in no uncertain terms, that Russia, headed by Vladimir Putin, who he made clear nothing happens without his okay. He described Russia as a country that could pose an existential threat to the United States of America. And we have a president in 2 weeks who has insisted in this sort of like offhand tone for the last month or two that these intelligence agencies don't know what they're talking about, and that a 14-year-old could have done it, and trusting Julian Assange over these people in our CIA, our FBI, our DIA, I can't name all of the intelligence agencies. These people, I don't know how they sleep at night. I'm serious. One of the things I was looking at were the pictures in all the papers of Clapper testifying and of the other people testifying. And these men look so troubled. They look like they're carrying a heavy burden. You wouldn't want to know what they know. And they've been trying to tell this idiot, who's soon to become the commander-in-chief, they've been trying to tell him a little bit of what's happening, and he won't listen and or discounts what they have to say before they have even said it. The Republicans I saw in the hearing yesterday were, and I can't say I heard all the questioners on the Republican side, but they were, the ones I heard, unanimous in their serious concern and were on board with everything the intelligence community was telling them. And I especially appreciated, here's why I'm saying I had this like small ray of hope, because Senator Bob Corker, Republican, on the committee, a guy, no, I don't think he's on that, he's on the Intelligence Committee, a guy who I would normally not listen to a thing about. They had, that committee, the Foreign Relations Committee had a closed-door classified briefing from intelligence yesterday. What I saw was the much thinner public briefing. And he said, as he left the classified briefing, that every senator in the room, whatever party, was very negative on what the Russians had done and very concerned about where it might go. And he was asked by a reporter, yeah, but what do you do when the head of your party, the soon-to-be president of the United States, is discounting the very intelligence that you're saying all you senators took to heart? And he said this: That's why we have 3 branches of government. So, when do you think they'll impeach him? I'm serious. I was with dinner with some people last night, and I was arguing that there's no way he's going to finish his 4 years. There's no way. There's no way unless somebody corrals him somehow. I don't know. And the Republicans, for their own survival, are the ones who are going to take him down. Well, they're the only ones who can. They control the apparatus of all branches of government. And of course, when they do, Mr. Pence will become the President of the United States, which is nothing to cheer about. But at least he is not mentally unstable, because Donald Trump is. Henry writes, Trump belongs in a psych ward, not in the White House. You know, I don't think he's psychotic, but I think he's as deeply neurotic a person as I mean, I'm neurotic. Everyone I know, anyone who is worth spending any time with is neurotic. And I have a feeling that most 99% of us are neurotic in some way. I mean, it's the price you pay for living. But there are neurotics, and there are neurotics. And this guy is right over there on the edge of having classifiable kinds of personality disorders that, are dangerous. Dangerous if he is put in a position of authority and power. Dangerous if he's put in a position that requires a lot of work, serious work, thoughtful contemplation, all the things he has shown us over and over and over again he is totally incapable of. Henry writes, I'd never thought I'd say this, but after seeing this morning's tweets, I would be okay if they wanted to put Bush and Cheney back into the White House right now. Isn't that something? I'd rather have incompetence in the White House, he says, than someone who is clearly psychologically disturbed. Trump belongs in a psych ward, not in the White House. I also saw the hearings yesterday, and thank God we have people like Clapper, who, by the way, will be gone in 2 weeks. Or be gone as soon as they I guess it's Dan Coates who has been picked to be. And Dan Coates is not as horrible a pick as could have been. I mean, that's where we are now. By all indications, everyone in Congress says he's actually a relatively rational human being, which is, the bar is so low now. Henry says there are 12 days until the inauguration. I'm praying for a miracle. You ain't going to get one. And you know it. You ain't going to get one. Let me tell you what else Trump did yesterday. This is a man, again, who's try to put yourself in the position of a person who has never held elective office. Okay, we can all do that probably, most of us. I don't know, some of you may have held some kind of elective office. Put yourself in the position of somebody who's never held elective office and who is about to become the President of the United States. Wow, what would you be doing? You'd be scared. You'd be desperately trying to learn as much as you possibly could. You'd be working 25 hours a day. You would be, I can't imagine. You would be picking the brains of every person who you trusted and esteemed. You would be feeling your inadequacy. Even the men who have been in elective office, who have been 12 days shy of taking the oath of office as the president, must have all been maybe a little excited, but also nervous. It is a job you do in a fishbowl. Everybody in the whole world's watching, which is why Donald Trump wanted it, because he likes to be watched. But getting watched on TV in a reality show is a lot different than being watched because you're the president of the United States. Do you know what he was doing yesterday? And this is just the beginning. Do you know how many lawsuits he's got going on right now? I'm asking because I don't. Lots. This is a guy who sues anybody who looks at him cross-eyed. He's got a gazillion lawsuits right now. And presidents can be, they have to go and give depositions. They have to testify. Ask Bill Clinton about that. He was in New York yesterday in a courtroom or in a lawyer's office, I don't know what, being deposed in a lawsuit. Let me tell you what this lawsuit's about. This is what was taking the man who is soon to be the most powerful man in the world. This is what he was doing yesterday. He was testifying, doing a deposition in a lawsuit because of a feud he has with a chef. A feud he has with a chef. Trump is suing the chef because the chef had planned to open a new restaurant in his fancy schmancy hotel in Washington, D.C. And after seeing Trump during the campaign, the chef thought, he's from Spain, I guess. The chef said, no, he's not. He's Spanish-American. He's an American. He said, I said, no, I can't do it because he was so repulsed by Trump's disparagement of Mexican immigrants. So he said to Trump, I'm out. I'm not putting my restaurant in your place. Forget it. I'm out. Trump sued him. Well, it could be Trump has a case here if the guy signed. I don't know. But this is the kind of petty crap. Pettiness is really the hallmark of this guy, right? Pettiness. It's the baseline for all those tweets, always. Payback and beating his chest. I'm bigger, I'm better, I had higher ratings, I this, I that. Great wall. Yes. We've said it. If a child acted like that, you'd be really, really worried. You'd be off to child psychiatrists. You'd be wringing your hands that your kid was somehow seriously dysfunctional. So, I have a question. How many of you are planning on being in Washington, D.C., not for the inauguration? Here's what we're going to do for the inauguration. We are going to actively work, and I need all of you to tell everybody you can get your hands on. Do not turn a television on while that inauguration is occurring. Do not let anyone in your house turn a TV on. It's okay. You want to see it? Watch it later somewhere else. Watch highlights. Do not watch do not. Because you see how nuts he goes. Let's make his great show the worst rated inaugural, like so much lower than Obama's inauguration. It'll just flip him out. Please, I'm begging you. I know it seems silly. But our resistance to this moron has got to be incessant, insistent, and sometimes seemingly as petty as he is, because that's where you reach him. So are you going to the march the next day? It'd be nice if that march was a biggie. Celine, you're going. Most of my friends are going. I am not going. I'm sorry. I'm calling in just generally sick. Someone else has got to walk for me. I've walked in so many marches in D.C. You can let me out of this one. Somebody younger, please, go in my stead. For those of you wondering how to go, I'm doing this for a friend who helped us arrange buses when we went to D.C. last time for remember Jon Stewart's, what was it, March for Sanity?
Yeah,
March for Sanity. And we got a lot of buses together. I got to meet a lot of you. That was so much fun. It really was.
Oh.
And so, what? It's not the March for Sanity?
It was Rally to Restore Sanity and or Fear.
Oh, Rally to Restore Sanity and or Fear. Whatever. So we all went to that, but this is more important. George DeBolt of DeBolt Transportation, he has buses, is the guy who came with us and who organized it. I talked to him recently. He is organizing buses again, and I just simply want to tell you that. I am not as involved as I was, but it'll be the same kind of thing for those of you who went last time. There are many pickup points. They start picking people up, I think, downtown, and then they do a stop in East Liberty, and then they do a stop in Monroeville, and more people come on. They do a stop up at New Stanton. More people come on the buses. And it's a one-day affair. It is you got to be, I hope you can sleep on buses. I can't. There was even a marriage that came out of that last bus trip. Somebody remind me what happened. There were two young people who met each other and later got married. So that, you're looking for a husband, a wife, I'm telling you, this bus trip. So, you leave very early in the morning and you come back late at night. It's a one-day affair, so you don't have to have a hotel because there aren't any rooms and they're so pricey. So you get everything you need. They take you the buses, and then you get tickets for the metro, which brings you right down to where the march will be, and then you all meet back up. It's very well organized, and you don't have to worry about anything. So if that's the way you want to go, then I'm going to have to give you a phone number, I think, or also it's DeBolt.com. You'll probably find stuff there. DeBolt, DeBolt. They're in Homestead. DeBoltUnlimited.com. He's a good guy. He shares progressive politics. They have lots of room. These are deluxe buses. They stop and let you eat breakfast. It's very well done. It's what he does. So I want to tell you that. The express buses from Pittsburgh, Oakland, Monroeville, New Stanton. The guys in New Stanton get to sleep in longer than anybody else because they're the last ones picked up and the first ones dropped off. Lucky you. Okay, that is all Saturday, January 21. And I would think, if I weren't feeling so generally down, I would think that it would make, after the horror of the day before, the inauguration, it would make you feel like, first of all, to be with so many, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of like-minded people. And there's some big organizations now that are on board with with the march. I had been concerned at first that it seemed amorphous, but it's good people. So just need to say that. And I will remind you again, and maybe we can stick something up on, yeah. Okay. Forgive my voice, I'm really sorry. One of the groups behind this march is Planned Parenthood, understandably. Yesterday, the ghoulish glee with which Ryan and the others announced that they were going after Planned Parenthood and to strip their funding from the feds immediately. He said, Ryan, this is the Speaker of the House, that he was fast-tracking the legislation that would repeal the Obamacare, and in that will also be the defunding of Planned Parenthood. Now, in the Wall Street Journal today, I saw something that, again, gave me a ray of hope. And I'll read it to you now. Just one little sentence. We cling to whatever we can these days. Republican aides privately acknowledge the defunding provision for Planned Parenthood will likely not survive in the bill's final form in the Senate because, and here's where you gotta get on the phone, because there are a few moderate Republican senators left who will probably not be willing to do it. Susan Collins, I'll get a list, but I mean, you need to make sure Bob Casey, and I'm sure he will be, but we need to, as I said yesterday, we need to have these phone numbers now. They need to hear from us like they've never heard from us before. Denise writes, oops. Lynn, I will be in Washington for the march along with my 18-year-old son. How wonderful. I made my hotel reservation the moment I heard the rumblings, and I can't wait. Oh, great. What a wonderful thing to do with your boy. What a great thing. See history, help make history, be attached, be part of, don't be part of the folks sitting on their asses, wringing their hands. Get active. And if you have to sit on your ass because you can't walk much or you're this and that, get on the phone. If you can't get on the phone, write a letter. You know, we all have to start doing stuff that we didn't normally do because we sort of felt, I'm not thrilled with what's happening, but it sort of is working, right? It ain't working anymore. We have a call. Hello, caller.
Hi, Lynn. It's Phil Marcus.
Hi, Phil.
I hate calling you when you're on a
No, you got me right at the end of a paragraph. It's quite fun.
I was trying, but I think there's a lag. And
There is. But you were perfect.
Well, a couple things. I was taking some notes. First of all, I'm not here to give you medical advice, but I've been on prednisone. I have Crohn's, and I didn't get along with it. But you do know, I presume, that it is a drug that you do not...
Oh, heck. Listen, Phil, I know. I've taken it before. Oh, okay. My dad also took it a lot. I know it's, as all wonder drugs are, they're great for a little while, and then they'll kill you.
Yeah, you can't go cold turkey, though. You got to titrate it.
No. I've done it, so okay. I do know. Thank you.
So, I was talking to my brother. We were lamenting the other night on the phone the emergence, ascension of you-know-who. And I was thinking of how, if somebody asked me how to define Trump, I've boiled it down to number one, obnoxious, number two, narcissistic, and number three, just a spoiled brat who never matured.
Right.
He's stuck somewhere in the past.
He's stuck at the emotional development level. I mean, I'm no psychiatrist. I'd say of about a 5-year-old? I'm serious.
You have a middle school. Come on.
Oh no, I wouldn't even give him that. No, I wouldn't. He's a child. He's a child. You know, by the time you're in middle school, I think you do know, and you're pissed off about it, that the universe does not revolve around you, right?
Well, the universe revolves around him. So
yes, so you can see why he's confused.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to mention, I'm a product of the political science department at Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this one course that I had, and I don't think it was in the political science department. As a matter of fact, I think it was in the philosophy department, and I took it as an elective. And for some reason, it stuck in my mind that it was titled Cross-Examination, but the course was actually like a debate class. And I remember the subject. The class, this professor was wonderful, and he took the class and split it into two, essentially, counted equal number of students on each side. And the subject was, is political assassination ever justified?
Oh, my God.
Well, you have to view it in context. It was post...
Okay.
Vietnam.
You know, like, what would you say? Would you kill Hitler if you knew... blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was also in light of, remember, the CIA used to assassinate.
Yes.
And was it during, I don't know if it was during Carter's administration that was made?
It was Nixon. Well, it was Nixon. They were helping people kill people in Central America and in South America.
Well, it was a very timely subject, nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I just mentioned it. I remember one half of the class, you would argue pro, and then the last half of the class, you would switch sides and have to, pro and con. Mm-hmm. And it was very interesting, and I've many times told people about that, and of course they gasp and think that's never acceptable. And I'll leave you there with that.
Okay.
Comment. Just
No, I think it's for a college course. I think it's brilliant, and I think it's a great exercise. And having to argue both sides, I think that's a wonderful exercise. And it's not as if it does not happen, right? So, if for a political science class, yes, yeah. I think that's perfectly. I suppose today people would freak out if somebody did.
Listen, I hadn't thought about that course.
Why, you're thinking of assassinating any people? Phil?
We don't say that. In this day and age,
we don't.
Especially.
No, we don't. We don't.
But anyway, I just thought it was an interesting comment.
It is.
Where we are.
It is. And thank you. Good to hear from you.
Feel better, my dear.
I will. Thank you. Bye. So, the Wall Street Journal today, just to, again, get you up to speed a little bit. The Wall Street Journal has a front page story on Trump's conflicts of interest and also of all the debt his companies have. We don't, because he won't release any information. A lot of this is like journalistic digging into whatever is out there. But the Journal has, and again, of course, I can't quite find exactly what I want. He owes hundreds of millions of dollars to almost every bank in the country. I mean, name all the companies. Let's see, who's holding his debt? J.P. Morgan, BlackRock, Fidelity Investments, Prudential, Vanguard, Wells Fargo. I mean, everybody. He's indebted. Understand this. He is indebted to Wall Street, unlike any president in the history of this country. And the reality is that any one of those banks does have the power to foreclose on one of his properties, let's say, or seek millions of dollars directly from him because he has personally guaranteed some of these loans. Wells Fargo is not one of the bigger ones, but they're holding at least 5 mutual funds that own parts of Trump's securitized debt. And if you follow the business page at all, Wells Fargo is currently persona non grata when it comes to this is how a good bank runs. Wells Fargo is currently facing a lot of scrutiny from federal regulators because of its sales practices and other issues. Now, if Donald Trump owes Wells Fargo, how tough's he going to be? How tough are his people, his administration, going to be on Wells Fargo? And for the Wall Street Journal to do this report in which they clearly point out this is, here's the word again, guys, unprecedented, and puts him in a position where every move he makes looks like he's making it for Donald Trump, Inc., not the United States of America. Jack Rogers writes, before you ever mentioned, I'm sorry, Jack, for your last name. I didn't mean to do that. I knew from the day he won the Electoral College I would not watch him be inaugurated. He is not my president. I know what you mean, but the reality is he is. Very, very sad that as a person who likes to witness historical events, I will not be able to watch this show. And it will be the first inaugural in my 56 years that I will not watch. Me too. Although I got some years on you. I'm asking all that I know not to watch. I'm sure it will be the first of many sad days to come in 2017. Keep up the resistance. As they turn against him, he will crumble. I am sure of it. I hope so. 2, I think, wonderful letters to the editor today that I want to share with you in the New York Times, and this is about the delight and glee with which the Republicans are now intending to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, which, of course, allowed millions and millions of poorer Americans to finally have some semblance of security regarding their access to health care. And this letter from a guy named Michael Scott in San Francisco, I think, is just something else. It's just a little. I'll read it. Given that the Republicans in Congress have offered nothing more than the lies of their own manufactured outrage to justify the haste and the glee with which they are about to dismantle Obamacare, their actions can only be seen as a final act of political retribution against a president they never accepted or planned to work with in good faith. The fact that more than 22 million people may lose access to health coverage as a result of this act of political callousness only cements the perception that the Republican Party is a morally and ethically bankrupt party that cannot be trusted to govern or participate responsibly in our democracy. You know, I was thinking all the Republicans now who say, the people like me who say, I will, he's not, or Jack, he's not my president, I will resist from day one. They're outraged. What did you guys do 8 years ago when Barack Obama came into office? My God, your heads, Mitch McConnell and all the Republicans in Congress and everybody else and all the talk show misinformers, they said from day one, we will work to ensure that this guy is not able to do a damn thing. That he did is amazing. You taught me how to be recalcitrant. You taught me what I now will attempt to put into practice. And there's another letter from a physician, a nephrologist. As a physician, I have seen firsthand the transformation of our healthcare system under the Affordable Care Act. The law is imperfect, as all laws are, but it has provided the necessary framework to control costs and would be working even better in that regard if the changes that had been needed had not been blocked by the hostile Republican Congress for 6 years. I can state without equivocation that I have cared for patients who owe their lives to the Affordable Care Act, and that full repeal of this law will kill people. The caller, Phil, was asking, was telling us about that political science class where you're asked to argue both sides of a question. I'm going to throw one at you now because it's from a story that I saw about a black marching band that's going to be in the inaugural parade. This is from a little historic black college in Alabama. You probably heard about it, Talladega College. It is small. It does not have a football team. That it even has a marching band is amazing. But it does have one after 5 years, just for the last 5 years. And they were asked to march. For many of their students, this would be a chance of a lifetime. For others who have graduated from there, and many on campus, they say this is an outrage. There is no way we should be part of Donald Trump's show. Here is a 24-year-old who graduated just a few years ago. He says what makes it so distasteful is there's a great deal of fear in this country now that the Voting Rights Act is going to be abolished, that the Affordable Care Act is going to be abolished, that Planned Parenthood is going to be cut off, that Medicaid is going to be cut off. Don't you understand why we have a fear of this man? But others are saying, well, I'll leave it to the president of the college. We respect and appreciate how our students and alumni feel about our participation in the parade. As many of those who chose to participate in the parade have said, we feel the inauguration of a new president is not a political event, but a civil ceremony celebrating the transfer of power. Now, he is right. Donald Trump doesn't even know that. He thinks it's a show, a big show. He doesn't know it's not political per se. It is a civil act that communally we all agree to participate in. So this president and this little school are under fire now from funders. And some of the students are excited about it. The chance to perform. They don't get to perform at halftimes. They don't have a football team. The chance to perform. And one of the students said, I would so love to see Washington, D.C., and maybe the president will understand more about us. He's saying that maybe if the president sees them high-stepping down Pennsylvania Avenue, he'll be less... What? That's a question. That's a good question to argue both sides of, and I could. Their absence or their presence doesn't really make much difference. Their presence might make a great difference for some of the individuals who will be marching. Some of the band members have said they're going to ask if they can say, I won't do it. And, I think if kids are given the opportunity to opt out, it might be okay. I don't know. And shows what a small little school this is. The school doesn't even have the money to send the band. They now face the challenge of raising more than $60,000 to cover expenses for the trip. What do you think? I don't know. I have talked before about how, with how our media enabled Trump's victory, not only by giving him all that free airtime, but also because with the Russians hacking and in conjunction with WikiLeaks, none of that would have gotten where it got, which is, to our eyes, if our own American media did not just eagerly scarf up all of the ill-gotten gains and made news out of them, even though, if you'll recall, there was next to no news of any import to be found. So the complicity of the media, the Russians had to expect that our free media would eagerly finish the job that they began. And they did. Paul Krugman, in a column today, says that the media are now doing it all over again. And he says, and this is with the kind of fake news that comes now out of Donald Trump's tweets and out of the White House. The saving of jobs at Carrier. The saving of, I closed down that Ford plant in Mexico. That kind of thing. And let me explain what he's saying, and it doesn't give you a lot of hope for where we're heading. It wasn't too long ago that the big story was, right, how Donald Trump saved those jobs at Carrier, and then there was a little kerfuffle about, was it 800, was it 1,100, was it this, was it that? And the reality is, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference, because that day, when the announcement was made that he saved those jobs, hundreds of other American workers lost theirs, okay? The story, well, in other words, it sounded the way it was played, and because it was put out there by Trump and the eager media, it sounded as if Trump was doing something substantive by intervening with Carrier. But it wasn't. It was... You don't get anywhere with these one-on-one interventions that save a handful of jobs here and a handful of jobs there. The fact of the matter is we stop and think about it. Macy's, you read the news? Macy's closing down stores left and right. Trump has been targeting Macy's for a long time because they boycotted his goods. He's been trying to take them down. He has been saying boycott them. Well, maybe people did, maybe people didn't, maybe they did. They didn't shop at Macy's this Christmas season if they heard Trump say to do that. And now, How many people all over this country who work at all those Macy's department stores are going to be out of work? So it sounded like, people don't read. They read a headline. They see a thing. Oh, Trump saved the jobs. And the same thing with the Ford thing. And we're talking about a few jobs here and there, and you really don't know. Sometimes it's just flat out false, what he's saying. What Krugman says is, do you really think that his political pressure changed the strategies of these CEOs? I don't think so. Because if he's going to do this throughout his presidency, going after a specific case-by-case targets, that will not have any impact whatsoever on our economy. We have a $19 trillion economy. So why do the media push these stories as if they're important when they're nothing? But the incentive for Trump to continue to engage in this kind of is he understands the media. It's the natural counterpart to fake populism, which is what got him elected. He knows how to do fake. That's what reality shows are, right? Crazy world. Reality shows are fake. Trump knows how to do fake. Trump, who won all that support from working class voters who believed he's on their side. Yet we know whose side he's on. The guys who are holding all his debt. The banks. So, Krugman says, so what can Trump do to keep this scam he's got going? Well, the answer is these kinds of showy but trivial interventions that can be spun is the news of the day. The news of the day. Trump saved another. Some big CEO backed down because big Donald Trump, our daddy, went in and told him, you can't do that. Substantively, it doesn't change anything in the economy. It's just PR. And then Krugman says, and understand that corporations have every reason to go along with the show. Every reason to. Suppose, he says, that you are a CEO who wants to curry favor with the president. One thing you can do, of course, is steer your business to his hotels and stuff like that. Or you could add some jobs that you actually might have added anyway. And he'll be beholden. He'll be grateful. You helped him. And none of this would work. None of this scam that Trump's running would work without our pathetic media. Krugman says, I'm not talking about fake news. As big a problem as that is, I'm talking about respectable mainstream news operations doing Trump's bidding. Being the final step, just as they were for Vladimir Putin and his hackers. I'll leave you the last paragraph here. Sorry, but headlines that repeat Trump claims about jobs saved without conveying the essential fakeness of those claims are a betrayal of journalism. This is true even if, as often happens, the articles eventually, quite a few paragraphs in, get around to debunking the hype. The reality is many, if not most readers will take the headline, and that's it. And let's remember, most people aren't reading anyway. So they're getting on their cell phone. Trump saves 800 jobs. Trump saves. Trump jumps on CEO of GM. And they think they got an activist president who's doing something for them. Krugman finishes by saying, it is, I suppose, possible that news organizations will begin treating stunts like the Carrier episode with the ridicule that they deserve. But nothing we've seen so far inspires optimism. I've been arguing for probably 35 years that one of the most important things for our country is that we are media literate. I was arguing that before the internet. I was arguing that because I saw how television and radio could lead people around by the nose, could change your emotions, could take a happy day and destroy it, could raise you up when you needed to, could work you. I was a reporter who was really good at working you. You have got, and I began to see people didn't even make distinctions between news and programming or news and commercials. And now, 30 years later, it's so much more of a muddle. And we are being played constantly. I can't think of a more important thing for our children to know than how media really work. And for them to be extraordinarily skeptical consumers. All of us. You get Donald Trump as president because we are so ignorant and so easily played. All right, guys, I know that's depressing, but that's it. And listen, but I'm on prednisone, so I'm feeling great. Have a go Steelers, go Packers. Have a great weekend. Stay warm, and I'll see you Monday.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.